the National Education Union have written to the Education Secretary today to say, we think our members should receive at least the rate of inflation in a pay rise. Kevin Courtney is the General Secretary of that union, and we're on a Zoom call together right now. Kevin Courtney, welcome to the programme.
Thanks for inviting me.
There's an almighty strike going on at the moment with disruption to the whole country over the question of 3% not being enough, maybe 4% might be enough. Why do teachers need 11%?
Because there's a huge problem of teacher recruitment and retention in our schools. Because teachers have suffered a 1/5 real terms pay cut since 2010. Because Nadeem Zahawi's evidence to the school teacher review body was that experienced teachers that got us through COVID should get a 3% pay rise, but inflation figures today are 11%. So if you
hang on, let's qualify the measure. You're using RPI there, aren't you? We use CPI these days, which is 9.1%, correct?
Well, okay, whichever. The gap between 3% and 9% is still 6%. And we think that there needs to be a pay rise, which is in that area and which actually starts to pay back some of the pay cut that's happened since 2010. This cut in pay for teachers, the real terms cut, is leading to huge problems with teacher recruitment and retention. Not alone, it's the combination of pay and workload that's the problem. But the government is missing its targets for recruiting teachers year on year, and the position's getting worse, so that they've missed the target by 6% more than they missed it by in 2019. And not only are they missing the target for teacher recruitment, we're also losing lots of teachers from the profession. 1 in 8 leave in their first year of teaching, 1 in 4 leave by their third year of teaching, 1 in 3 leave by their 5th year of teaching, and people carry on leaving. The number of vacancies advertised in secondary schools is up dramatically on 2019. There is a very big problem facing education, and we're saying that part of that problem is pay, and you can't just have these long-term declines in pay. This happens with teacher supply over time, and you then need a correction to pay, and we need a correction to pay.
Everybody would be saying that, Kevin. Everyone in the country could be making an argument to their boss, whether they work for the private sector or the public sector. And the government argues, indeed many economists argue, you simply cannot get into a wage price spiral. All of us are going to have to accept that we're going to become a little less wealthy for the next year or 18 months. Do teachers not understand that logic?
It's not for a year or 18 months. If pay goes up by 3% and inflation goes up by 11% or 9% or 10%, that doesn't disappear unless you get a pay rise that is over inflation at some point in the future. It remains forever. And we're not claiming, actually, that other people don't need a pay rise. We think they do. Part of the very big problem in our country is it's got out of balance. The level of profits, the share of the economy that's being taken by profits is a historic high. The share of the economy being taken by wages is at a historic low, and there needs to be a correction to that so that we have a bit more of the money going into people's pay packet. Because there is a, I hear the concern from economists about the wage price spiral, but we can all be clear that the current inflation isn't caused by pay at all. And the big problem that people have is their pay isn't keeping pace with prices. That's the problem we've got. And we worry that the economy is going to go into a recession because there won't be enough money in people's pockets for them to go to the shop and buy things.
Or else, is that implied? You don't actually specify in your letter from you and Mary Bastard, your colleague in today, but there's a seem to be an implication that you're going to follow the RMT and ask your members to vote for a strike. Is that what you intend to do?
We've said in the letter that we'll ballot for industrial action, and we mean by that strike action, yes. So we're writing to Nadeem Zahawi, hoping to avoid that situation. We really do not. We want to avoid it. He has the report from the school teacher review body. He told the school teacher review body that we deserved 3% for experienced teachers.
Somebody else wants you on the phone there, Kevin.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
But when he wrote to the SDLB, inflation was nothing like the level it is now. So it was several months ago. So we're hoping that his response to the school teacher review body will be to say, well, we should do a bit more. Anything like that can help us try and avoid a strike, which is what we want. So let's see where we'll get to. We expect to see his reaction to the SDLB report in the coming weeks before the summer holidays. If it's not good enough, then we will then move to consult our members and about whether they want to take strike action. But we will be urging them to say yes to that they do want to take strike action, unless there is sufficient movement from Nadeem Zahawi. And I want to go back to the point. This is certainly about our members' standard of living. And that's the same issue for everyone else in the country. And we think other people deserve a pay rise too. But there is this other element of our argument that teacher recruitment and retention is reaching a crisis point. That I said earlier on, the number of vacancies advertised in secondary schools has gone up by 14% compared to last year. That's an average across all subjects. You look at science, it's up by something like 60%. We're going to have loads of schools that can't teach science, we think, in the coming months. And so there's a huge level of disruption caused by the fact that we've allowed teacher pay to fall for so long that people are not coming into the profession and they're not being held in the profession when they do come into it.
Kevin, we'll talk again, I'm sure, because this is the beginning of the process, but thanks for explaining your reasoning for writing the letter that you did to the Secretary of State for Education.